Welcome back to another video. This is the next part in the transmission rebuild series. In this video though, we're going to be focusing solely on the clutch. So clutch removal, I'm going to send it off to RXT to get rebuilt. We're going to do rear main seal, pilot bearing, and then get it reinstalled. So I'm going to make that all one video. This way it's all in one spot for anyone doing just the clutch. If you need to remove the transmission, go ahead and check out my last video, removing the transmission part 2. And for future videos, I'm going to be doing the trans rebuild and some other stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it. So I took some time, cleaned out my TR6060, looking a lot better, got all the clutch dust out and everything. You can actually see, just sitting on the trans jack for now. Assortment of tools. If you're ever in doubt as to what you should do, go ahead and give your car and your workspace a good clean. This way you can actually see everything you need to do. So go ahead and clean up under the car, organize all my stuff, cleaned all the starters and all that stuff. And let's go ahead and get under it. And there's our RXT we're gonna go and pull out. All right, so underneath the car, this is our RXT. So pretty solid clutch. I've had no issues with it. I'm going to upgrade to an RXT1200 because it's only a $100 upcharge, and figure might as well, why not? Be better safe than sorry. So all in all, this isn't a review of the clutch, but I've had pretty good luck with it. Held 700 horsepower down the track very reliably, daily driver. Well, not really daily driver anymore, but it was daily driven for a good bit and pretty awesome. So these marks right here should be from the clutch installer, machine shop, or McLeod itself. And what they'll do is balance the whole assembly so everything's happy. The rebuild service they offer, I have to get the new prices. I'm not entirely sure what they're at right now, but I will put them on the screen if I ever run into them. Anyway, so what I want to go ahead and do is take this off, keep everything in the same orientation as it is, and make sure we don't lose anything. So I haven't removed one of these before. I'm going to have the install sheet up and available for myself to reference if I need it, and go ahead and start pulling stuff off. So outer clutch packs anyway should come off with these bolts out here. Once we get those off, this should come off, the discs should come out, and we'll kind of go from there. Then there's the inner bolts, and then this is the flywheel itself, which is bolted to the crank. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling stuff off, setting it off to the side, trying to keep everything nice and neat. All right, so this is my clutch. So flywheel definitely has some heat on it. Nothing too crazy, I feel like. But, I think this is, no, I'm sorry, this is the mid plate. This is only one pressure plate. So as it was. So we have our one pressure plate. Definitely got a little heat in there. Nothing too crazy to worry about. Let's see, we got set up there. And then our actual clutch. Outer disc with the fingers on it. Not bad. I wasn't really sure what to expect. Also, I don't really know what clutches are supposed to look like. There's pretty good lip right here, so looks like it probably wore down a little material at a minimum. And then put this in here. So that's our one disc. There is not much material left, I feel like, in the center. So I do think it was getting pretty worn. Really not like dead, but it's probably getting close to due. So now I have the second layer to come out. Feel this disc piece right here. Gotta pull out this one next. So looking at it, should be able to take it out with these bolts right here that go all the way around. So coming off of here, just so I'm tracking as well, it is a flat washer, this guy, and then the nut, and it goes on like that onto here. So keep those off to the side, and let's see if it lost any. So we got one washer stuck on there in the corner right here, which I'll go ahead and grab off real quick. There we go. Put it in the pile. So getting there. Go ahead and go on the next couple bolts. Those were a 11 millimeter star bit, or whatever you want to call it. These look to be normal flats, so they're 5-side. Let's go and get those next. All right, got that out. Good grief, that kind of stunk. But this, not too bad. This clutch disc looks like it has more material than the other one, which is a little interesting, but it is what it is. Dropped a ton of clutch material out. But we'll go ahead and put this in here. It's supposed to be, and then we'll set this on top of here. Everything nice and kosher. Like so. There. Keep that together the way it's supposed to be. And then this is our flywheel. So I do have an air impact. I suspect that's going to be the best bet to get this thing out because it looks like a pain in the butt. But kind of curious. I honestly expected there to be more surface here. But it also looks like it's seen a fairly good amount of use, which makes sense. Do beat this thing pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 flywheel bolts. 2, 4, 6, yep. And this is our pilot bearing, which feels pretty loose, but it still moves and there's no weird flat spots, so that's good. But it's probably worn out, so we'll pull that out as well later. For now, let's go ahead and get the flywheel off next. I'm going to use an air gun because I have it and it's going to be a pain in the butt without it. All right, so our rear main is right here. Honestly, this is not leaking. I thought it was leaking, but it is not. So I'm gonna be honest, I really don't want to replace this thing. We'll see, we'll come back to this one a little later. Pilot's right here. So all this does is go into the back of the crankshaft. And to get it out, you can use a puller tool, or you can use, ironically, some bread. So I'm going to try the bread method, see if that works. Basically, you stuff the hole full and it kind of squishes out and then pushes the pilot bearing out. So we'll get to that in a minute as well. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and bring the clutch off to the side, get it set up for shipping because I want to really get this thing out of here, get everything else done in a timely manner. All right, so I want to send the clutch off. So waiting for that to return. In the meantime, we're going to go and replace the pilot bearing. So I went ahead and picked up a new one, National Bearings. Got this from Rock Auto for a few bucks. Here's your part number if you need it. And not going to do the bread method, that's silly. I decided just to go to Harbor Freight and grab a pilot bearing puller, which is this. So you'll slip it over your pilot bearing like so, and then tighten everything down, and it should be able to come out without too much trouble. So go ahead and give that a shot, and I think we'll be good. So I'm going to go ahead and get under the car, and I'll pull that out. And then for reinserting the new one, depending how tight it is, I should be able to use a hammer or the rubber mallet and either that or a flat bell lock of wood and just slowly tap it in until it bottoms out. So fairly simple. Let's go ahead and get after it. And then while I'm down here, went ahead and cleaned up the bell housing area. Take these back out real quick. I decided against replacing the rear main seal, and although I have access to it and it's fairly easy, Ford usually has pretty good seals, and I haven't noticed any leaks from a lot higher mileage vehicles of the same generation. So I've decided just to ignore it. And it's not leaking now. I have a suspicion by the time it does eventually start to leak based on mileage, probably gonna have to do this job again anyway, so not too worried about it. But there's our pilot bearing. Go ahead and get our tool set up real quick, and we'll knock that out. Damn it, I'm pretty sure I just missed the freaking pulling it out and did not get it on camera. I apologize guys, freaking misclicked. But All right, let's just cut it out. First off, this tool is not the greatest. Apparently there's a slide hammer version that's way better. And I want to basically disassembling the whole damn pilot bearing. So, internal bearing, the race itself, which is pretty soft, and that's what's getting snagged up on, so I'm pulling that out. And once that was out, I was able to get a grip on the actual bearing itself, which wasn't too bad, and that came out without a problem. But that's out now, so let's go ahead and get our new one in. Little trick, put your bearing in the freezer to get it to shrink up a little bit, and then the clearances fit in much easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, stuck the new bearing in the freezer for a couple hours. Let's go ahead and see how this goes, getting popped in there. All right, the old rubber mallet. Looked a little worse for days, but went and pop it in there. And this wasn't too bad. So easy day. Definitely don't want to hit it too hard because it is your crankshaft and it's residing on bearings and whatnot. Don't want to beat anything up. But rubber mallet's not too bad, and she's getting in there now. So now what we got to do is wait for the clutch rebuild to show up, and in addition to that, you're going to want to replace your throwout bearing. Make sure you use a Ford OEM Motorcraft or Motorcraft one, and you won't have any problems. So let's go ahead and just you guys, I'm totally lost watching this new slave bearing right here, or throwout bearing, slave cylinder, same deal, 2 bolts, one here, one there. And it goes in like so. So easy day, nothing to worry about. I think my pipe might be just a hair bent, but no worries. And yeah, should swap out fairly easily. All right, so we go ahead and got our replacement drive shaft in. I just kind of wanted to do an update with you guys. So this is the original aluminum one I had. This is from the previous owner. I didn't buy this one. Shaft Masters. Apparently they don't make this drive shaft anymore. I'm not entirely sure why. I was looking at the newer ones, and all the new ones from Ford Performance look physically identical, but they have their slip yoke at the top, which I thought was a little interesting. This one's toward the back. So anyway, the shop made one out of steel, which I'm fine with. It is a little bit heavier than the aluminum, obviously, which makes sense. But in terms of strength and everything, we should be good to go. But the issue I was having is right in this joint right here, I was having play. So when it's on the car especially, you could definitely tell there's a nice wobble going on here, and that's not ideal. So what I want to do real quick is just cut off these 2 little band clamps, and then kind of take a look at what this joint looks like and see if we can see anything going on in there. All right, so I went ahead and took off the boot right here. And this is not, honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect. I expected to see something like this. For reference, this has absolutely 0 play. It is extremely tight. I can slide it in and out with a lot of force, but it is nice and tight, which is good. I do kind of wish they'd put a boot over top of this, but it does have a good circuit fitting, so it should be okay to grease it up if needed. Anyway, so this is kind of neat. So this whole thing slides out, and that's your end piece. The inside looks like that. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm starting to think I don't think it wore. I think it was just a clearance issue with the 2 pieces, because when you put them together, I mean, I don't know if you can hear that. It's not, this way is tight, but this way, it's almost like the shaft is oblong. Hopefully you guys can hear that. You can't really see it, but like, well, yeah, you can see it if you look real close. Definitely not ideal, right there. So that play on either side would definitely be what I was fitting, even like pushing it in. So I was expecting to see wear by having it like maybe a wear line, but I genuinely think it's just they machined something weird. And yeah, that's where the play was coming from. So pretty crazy. Would it have blown up and caused an issue? Probably not. Is it good for the driveline, specifically seals and transmission and everything when I was feeling it at 130 miles an hour on the drag strip? Probably not. The new drive shaft, although it is heavier, like I said, it's ran me about 500 bucks even, which is about $200 cheaper than the aluminum one. And realistically speaking, I mean, yeah, it is extra driveline weight, but it'll be fine. The main problem with the stock drive shafts is the 2-piece design, not that it's made out of steel. People just go to aluminum because, well, it's lighter. But I'm not really trying to save every last bit of ounces of weight I can, so it'll be fine. If anything, I want to have strength. Drive shaft is one of those components. I'll find ways to save weight in other spots in the car. So that's all I wanted to get onto, just about the drive shaft real quick and let you guys know. The clutch should be here on Tuesday. It is now currently Sunday. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out a few little busy things, kind of get everything prepped and ready to go. And then when the clutch gets here, that'll be the reinstall video, and then I'm actually gonna put the transmission back in. So couple different parts to how this whole thing is going to play out, but you'll see it all in due time. Without further ado, let's go ahead and hop on the busy work. So I want to go ahead and do transmission refill, put new fluid in it. I did get a new shift ball in for the MGW. I want to show you real quick. Thought it looks kind of cool. And we'll go ahead and torque down a couple things and whatnot, and it'll be done. So my 2007 GT500 still pulled apart. I did just order a new intercooler pump, so we're gonna go ahead and try out the, whenever it gets here, we'll do this whole video series on that. It's a bit of conversion process, but just wanna let you guys know there's more stuff in the works for that. Anyway, so just knock out real quick. We got new O2 sensors going in pretty soon here. Anyway, this is the new shifter ball. So a little bit of bling for the old MGW. Well, rather new MGW, and yeah, with the whole car being black and red, I figure this would be appropriate. And yeah, it's pretty nice with the weighted round ball. I thought about doing like the snake or something, but yeah. And then a couple of spacers underneath here that come with it that are right there. So I tossed a washer I had laying around just on top of it, and just to make sure we're nice and tight. And yeah, brings our shift boot up nice to the base. So a little bit different. I kind of like the Barton style better, but in terms of, it should work just fine. So yeah, it feels good. A little bit of weight, no worries. Let's see what else. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up these things in a bit. This is our new throwout bearing. We got to put fluid in here from that guy. So we got Dextron 3, and I got into a debate with a guy when I was redoing this earlier. So look, Mobil 1 synthetic ATF. So we contacted Tremec, asking, by we I mean BJ, my tuner, did when he was doing his transmission stuff, and Tremec said Mobil 1 synthetic ATF is the stuff to use inside of this transmission as a replacement fluid. So Dextron 3, I think some of it comes in, there's some weird stuff about it, but point being, clutches, doesn't matter stock or aftermarket or the synchros, this is the stuff to use. So that's what we're using. Should take 3.75 quarts, I believe, so should be good. And this will also be the test to find out if I seal everything properly, if we're gonna get any random leaks, but should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this thing up real quick. We'll go ahead and tighten that down, and I think that'll be everything I can prep until the clutch gets here. All right, want to put in all 4 quarts. Should be a tad less, but I think that's what I did last time I did too anyway. And it's leaning a little bit. It'll be all right. Should be fine. Anyway, basically if you overfill it, all that's gonna happen, it'll squirt out the vent tube a little bit, first couple of 100 miles maybe. I've had that happen once or twice, nothing crazy. But anyway, when it's full, you're gonna have it looked up. Yeah, it's pretty flat. Yeah, it should be fine, whatever. Anyway, when it's full, you should be able to see it just below the line of the fill, or you can stick your pinky in and dip it in, and that's where mine was at, so we're good. Now, let's go ahead and do, yeah, it should be that. All right, so I went ahead and got our clutch slave cylinder kind of just mocked in here, and a little bit tight in clearances, but should be fine, no touching on metal. And I did have to bend that tube a little bit. I think I got crushed in shipping. Anyway, so you guys crunch down to 109 inch-pounds, or 108 inch-pounds. Little 10 millimeter. Let me go ahead and knock that out real quick, or 9 foot-pounds. Anyway, let's go knock this out. All right, torque down and good to go. I was looking at it, and I think my old one was leaking a little bit. There was some like residual grease or something in here. And looking at my old slave cylinder, I'm pretty sure the residual is coming from the seal in here. So it's good they're replacing it. Honestly, could have been one of the reasons we were having lockout issues. Who knows? But everything is new, so we're getting there. Pilot bearing surface looks good. So as soon as we get the clutch in, we'll slide the transmission back in. Hell yeah, the clutch has arrived. So went ahead and got our balancing report as well. So this is from the flywheel. I don't actually know what these numbers mean, but well, it looked like everything was fine, so that's what it is. They did something. So sweet, we're good there. This is the actual clutch shelf. This is the actual clutch itself. So I don't know if they rebuilt it, repainted it, or if this is something all the way new, but on the bottom, RXT1200 now, which is awesome. And I think everything is good. We got our install instructions. They gave me the alignment tool, which I was worried about because I did not have one previously. and should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and disassemble this guy real quick. And we'll just kind of take a look at how everything's going in here. It's kind of interesting. So the material's definitely a different color on the 1200 versus the RXT. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of what my thickness looks like beforehand, so that even when I take this out again, I can take a look at it. So just kind of flipping everything, how it comes out. Neat. And we got this guy with our additional, interesting, they got some spacers in here. This was not in my original one. They have little metal spacers all around here. So that's kind of neat. And then I gotta undo these 10 mils to be able to get the actual rest of this out. So I'm gonna do that next. All right, so I went ahead and got it apart. We gotta get the flywheel on. So these bolts are freaking like stuck in here. I don't know if they didn't clean the threads or what, but it was not quite ideal. They did not want to thread in very nicely. So these are out. I left this piece. Everything else came off and flipped up like that. This I left this way because there's these little metal spacers that they stuck on here. I don't know what they're for, where they are, but I'm not touching them. I'm leaving them there because whatever it is in spec right now. And then I'm going to be honest, I don't remember my flywheel having being so gouged like this. Like, it was kind of rough. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just, wonder if this is, they keep everything together, if this is actually my clutch, or if this is something different. So that's a little weird. But let's go ahead and start getting things back together. So we're getting the pilot bearing in. We're going to go ahead and toss in the flywheel next, which is this guy. So let's go ahead and bolt that in. All right, so we're in the car. We're going to go ahead and start with installing this to 60 foot-pounds. Pop the flywheel on. So let's go ahead and do that first. These are not evenly spaced, so you may need to rotate the flywheel around to get everything to line up perfectly, and that's what we're going to go ahead and do. All right, so it gets torqued to exactly 59 foot-pounds according to the manual. So this is our new balance mark. That's our old balance mark. Just keep that in mind. So next thing we're gonna go ahead and do, I'm gonna grab some brake cleaner and a paper towel, clean up all the surfaces, find which size flat clutch alignment tool that we need. There are two sizes. Make sure none of our wiring gets pinched or anything. And go ahead and get our first pressure plate on. So, or rather, we're gonna get our first, clean it up, get the plate on, and then get our, it's like floater plate, I think, the center one, and then bolt that down next. So we'll go ahead and do that. That gets bolted down to, let me double check the torque setting. I think it's 25 foot-pounds if I'm not mistaken. All right, so double checked, went ahead and tightened everything to 35 foot-pounds. That's what these are. Instructions say 35 for 10 millimeters, that's these, and for 25 for 8 millimeters. I don't see any 8 millimeter nuts or bolts on here, so everything's 35. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and put on the next plate, which is gonna go outside of here. And then we're gonna go ahead and put on the pressure plate. So it turns out this is the floater ring, this is the floater adapter ring, and then we'll have our next clutch plate. And then we'll have our, I just called it a second ago, our pressure plate. So pressure plate is going to be in sequence. So we'll tighten everything hand tight first, and then it's going to go to 25 foot-pounds in a star pattern, and then 35 foot-pounds in a star pattern, and we should be done. So just make sure everything's nice and clean and happy. Let's go ahead and keep going. All right, and that's gonna do it. So our clutch is now installed. Plates are all aligned, so we can pull out the tool to make sure she's all good. 25 foot-pounds. I did it first hand tight, then 25, then 35 as the instructions called for. Double checked all my torque a couple times just to make sure we're good. And there we have it. The McLeod RXT1200 is installed. Braking period according to the instruction is about 1200 clutch cycles. So kind of when we go down the road, I'll just be cycling the clutch through gears, 5th and 6th. So we're going and just kind of breaking everything in before we can go watt and enjoy the car. So hope you enjoyed. That's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. Installing the clutch. RXT1200 took about, I sent it in April 19th, and I got it back on, well, today is May 8th. So about, I'm trying to think now, I don't know, about 20 days roughly turnaround time, somewhere in there. So not terrible. They estimate between 14 and 21 days when you get it back, so right on the money. A little longer than I would like it to be, but it is what it is. So without further ado, that's gonna do it for this video. Next video, we're gonna get this transmission back in, get this car started, and I mean, we should be good to go. So once again, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.